My name is Eric Beydoun. I'm CEO of Wave. And at Wave, we produce a gel that efficiently removes nutrients and heavy metals from water. Now, what makes us different than current plastic ion exchange resins today is that our raw material is made of shrimp shell. Because our raw material is shrimp shell, our cost of goods are very low. Therefore, our product is very cost effective and biodegradable. To date, we have raised $300,000 and use this to bring our technology to bench scale pilot testing. We're currently raising $500,000 to reach 3 points. One is scale up production, 2 is implement this product into a chrome plating plant, and 3 is hit revenue in 2017. So we are Wave, and we produce the only sustainable gel in the water industry. Thank you.
So now we'll sit silently for 32 seconds while Eric's finds out. Call it a moment of silence for Orlando. Great, guys. Thank you very much. So think about your questions, and I'll set a couple up here, just kind of get going. Len, you mentioned the oil and the oil industry primarily. Is there application for your technology in other industries?
Yeah, so we create, the way we separate the oil and the water is we use nanoscale bubbles of gas in solution that supersaturate water and stay in solution. And we think that that's terrific for other areas. In fact, we were exploring municipal wastewater for a long time and replacing the big blowers that are in the aeration ditch and the activated sludge ditch. Every time I see one of those bubbles coming up, that looks like wasted energy to me that we can fix.
Joe, I was interested in your technology. In particular, both Len and Eric had a very concrete idea of what they needed next. What's the next critical step in the evolution of your business? What do you need?
We are looking for 4 demonstration partners. We basically, the status of our company, we received a phase 1 SBIR grant last year. We've done a feasibility study. Basically, that's what phase 1 is for. And now phase 2 is for the prototyping. And this is my first technology company, say, and what I realize is this is going to be a long process. And really without, especially in the biome of each plant is unique, and it's going to take about 1.5 years to 2 years of actually collecting a lot of data to find out if we actually have with the information we get from the biology, do we actually have actionable intelligence that's going to save money and optimize the process. So right now we have 2 potential demonstration sites, and we're looking for 2 more.
Excellent. Eric, shrimp shells. What's the history of the invention? How did you arrive at shrimp shells?
So the technology was invented by Dr. Deborah Rodriguez, who's a professor at the University of Houston. So Wave is based in Houston, which is why I'm here. I come here just to enjoy the snow. The technology comes from the inventor, professor at the University of Houston, and she's originally from Brazil, and she was trying to find a cost-effective method to filter water for people in need in emerging countries. And what happened is the entrepreneurship program over there brings their students, that's us, to kind of see if we can commercialize some IP owned by the university. And our team, so we were a team of 5 initially, ended up being 5 from 5 different countries. I grew up in France, and all my other co-founders were in a different country. And so we call the company Wave, that stands for the first letter of water and the 5 original languages of the founders. So it's W for water, agua, vata, and voda. And so even though we're not going right away for emerging countries, that's our end goal, our vision. So we will go global, but we have to start by making a solid business before going.
Are there any regulatory concerns? In other words, after you've put the gel in and you've accomplished what you're trying to do with the removal, what's the downstream thought process?
So depending on what market we'll target, initially we'll go for industrial residual water. So for chrome plating plants, for example, that's pretty easy compared to municipal drinking water where we need a lot more certifications. So our first target markets, we try to find the ones that need the less, certifications, and depending on the state, everybody's going to be a bit different. But at the end of the day, our goal is for them to reuse that water. We'd capture the chrome and actually dispose of it as they do today in a solid form.
Joe, as you think 5-10 years out, you've got this thing up and running, you're past your kind of 4 proof sites, and you've got a going business. Who's the check writer? Who pays for your solution?
It will be the treatment plant manager, or the water district itself. I mean, we're looking actually at building a very sophisticated platform that could actually spin off to different industries, such as food and ag. And so the check writer is anybody who wants to save costs, and also in 5 or 6 years, we could actually be doing some compliance testing too.
And are they paying for a one-time piece of equipment, or is it more of a service platform? Or how do you envision the revenue flow?
Our long-term vision, right now we're doing off-the-shelf PCR equipment, and we're also working on a lab-on-a-chip microfluidic platform, which would, it would be basically you buy, lease the machine, and then it would be reoccurring income would come from the disposable chip.
Okay. And Len, if one of these kind folks out here gives you $1 million, what are you going to do with it?
So we're going to use it for equipment. We run a service business. So we run a service business because we love recurring revenue. We love the fact that we can keep growing our revenue. And we love the fact that we can control the intellectual property. We don't have to disclose it to anybody if we're running it for ourselves. So our service is to treat water. We need to buy the equipment to do that. We need money for operations. We need money to continue to protect our IP. And we need money for to do the travel and the sales that are associated with getting out to more customers.
Great. Well, I've got a few more, but I want to make sure we have some time. It's about 10 to 3. We got 10 minutes. I want to open it up to the floor. Anybody have any questions? Right. I think we're going to walk the mic over here, right?
Huge fan of the Brew program. My name is Dr. Kat Schreier, host of The Water Show and founder of Water Citizen Media Foundation. As part of our coverage for this event, we offered all the Brew class members an opportunity to be sponsored for less than $100 to get your video, to get your own webpage and everything. Because as we've talked about today, communications is so important as a new company to reach your audiences. So far, of the 4 spots we had available, we had Ashok Menon from Radom, and we had Jose Ramirez from Optus Technic, which was great, and we were really excited to have him on there. But we haven't heard from the other brew companies yet. So, or we did hear from one, I won't mention names, but said we can't do less than $100 because we're looking for money. So, what are your communication strategies? How are you investing in communications to reach an audience like this on an ongoing basis? Get past your 90 seconds through things like getting your video on a site like our coverage of the Water Summit.
So if each of you could answer that very briefly, just what your communication thoughts are going forward.
Well, I can tell you that we're very thankful to the Water Council, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, and Veolia for selecting us for the POW program, because what happened as part of that POW program is they did incredible PR for us. We got listed in Water Online, Oil and Gas Online, the Milwaukee Journal, and some other publications. And we started getting cold calls just from that, from people in the oil industry, and that was fantastic, even some people in the water industry as well. In addition, we went out. There's an oil and gas conference every week, and we were selected by Oil and Gas Innovation Showcase. Oil and Gas Innovations, they do research. They're like a talent scout of new companies for oil and gas companies. All the big players, BP and Shell and ExxonMobil, Baker Hughes, Schlumberger, Halliburton, they all subscribe. And so they featured us, and then they liked us so much they asked us to speak at their annual conference. So we got to speak in front of all these companies, and that's generated a huge amount of activity as well. And we're actually have NDAs or are talking with more than a dozen of these large companies that are interested in our technology.
We've been not doing any mass media, I guess. We've been more or less trying to target, I guess, retail politics, going through the state water environment associations and just kind of networking. And I think we're a little bit, we're like in a demonstration mode, so we're not really yet ready for prime time sales, but we're setting the seats to, some key influencers.
Yeah, for Wave, I think most of our resources are going to product development. Anything that has to do with communications, this is it. This is me being on stage pitching and hoping that 5-10 people are actually made perfect niche. So we've done 4 or 5 accelerators, 16 business plan competitions, and that's how we gathered all our potential customers and partners. I mean, it works.
Quickly, yeah.
I've got one more quick thing, that we have a LinkedIn group, LinkedIn company out there, and we have a newsletter. I'd encourage you to sign up for those, because every couple of weeks, every 2-3 weeks, we're posting the latest news and videos on what we're doing.
Great. Other questions?
I have a question as it relates to the work you're doing. I was curious to know whether you have evaluated your technology with water from hydraulic fracturing to see if it can do purification of that matrix.
Yeah, so we have used it. The water we're using it on is the worst of the worst. It has fracking fluids. It has stuff coming right out of the wells called produced water. It's all mixed together and with all the sludge, and we're actually treating all of that, so it's working great. Now, I want to be clear, our goal is to get it to reusability for the oil industry, because for the most part, this water has 10 times the salination of the ocean. So the expense of trying to think about making it drinkable or usable for agriculture, that's a lot. And that's where the oil industry has been reluctant to invest, because of that huge expense for things like desalination.
Interesting.
For New Wave, which I am familiar with a little bit, you indicated that you want to focus on the industrial market. So on the personal market, the issue seems to be potential reactions, because many people have reactions to shellfish. But on the industrial side, being that you're using shrimp as a natural product, how do you address scalability?
Yeah, on the first allergic side, that was a question that popped up during one of my business plans that kind of destroyed me right away, because I was like, I have no clue. That's a great question. So I called the inventor right away, and there's no allergic reaction to it. It's the shell itself. It's made in a specific powder, and so we tried it a couple of times. No problems with allergies, and apparently it's because it's from the shell of the shrimp. I don't know the exact details. Yeah, we're starting on the industrial side just because it's easier to enter. People are willing to invest in innovation more than, I feel, municipal wants safety first and take a bit more time. They're bigger companies, it's normal. But if I'm talking to small chrome plants and talking to the owner right away, and listen, I'm telling him I can save you a lot of money by doing this, and you can even reuse the water. And so that's very interesting to them. Nobody who has a chrome plant wants to deal with drainage permits or sewage or anything, because that is so dangerous.
Currently, actually, I'm doing an assessment between rounds of SBIRs on a technology that uses scanners. So you're talking about a demonstration site. Have you considered a strategic partnership with a company that would have a system that would read your microchip, or do you intend to build the whole system yourself?
Well, we're actually licensed. The technology is already, that platform's already there. It needs additional work, but we've licensed what the work they've done so far.
So I can take one more question. Anybody out there? Over here.
On the Neptune technology, I'm still unclear on how the process works. Could you explain to us, so how are you using molecular technology to remove and clear the water?
So remove or clean the water?
Well, how does your technology work?
So we're a testing measurement company. That's what our product is. It doesn't do what it does. It will provide you real-time intelligence, real-time information. So right now, like if you look at the wastewater treatment plants, it's a biological reaction. The only way they understand what their microorganisms are is by using a microscope, which is takes some skill and training and time to become proficient, or you grow cultures, which takes time. So for example, where the thing is we can actually find trace amounts of bacteria that you can't see in a microscope. So what we're doing is over time, we understand the microbiome, and then we can figure out what the like a left and right parameter is of the optimum process. And then like on a weekly or bi-weekly case, you would put in a sample from your mixed liquor, you would get the results, it would be quantified. The other microscopes are subjective, non-quantifiable. I mean, there's a method, but ours is more empirical and more precise. And so the thing is that you would, over time, for example, our pilot shows us we can see the increasing concentration of Godonia, which led to a bulking incident at our pilot site. We could see that 2 months prior to that episode, we could see that starting to climb and that concentration of that specific bacteria as compared to the total bacteria.
So we're just about out of time. I'm going to ask you one last question, and it's an interesting one. So you've got a room full of investors, professionals, academics, politicians, press folks, all here because of a few things. One, they're passionate about water, and two, they're passionate about this region and really making this a water hub that's vibrant and growing, et cetera. You've had a chance to mill around and meet a lot of folks. If you had to identify your win for this week, if you walk out of here tomorrow night with one thing, what would that be?
Well, my win is to make contacts with people that are going to take me to grow the company through either a new customer or through investment. And so that's the number one thing I'm looking for.
Joe?
My number one thing would be contacts with 2 more demonstration partners.
Eric?
Me will be a potential investor or potential partner.
Well, great, guys. Thank you. I think you made incredibly strong use of about 10 minutes each, and I hope it turns into something great for you. So thanks, folks.
Thank you.